Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello, girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy's podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's online coach. I say this every time I come on here, but I'm literally so freaking excited for all of you to listen to this podcast. I have someone so freaking special who I've literally just met, but she is so freaking inspiring in the fitness industry. So before I, let you understand who it is, her name is, she's known as Mari, but her full name is Mariko. It's in Japanese. And Mari is a strong woman. And I'm super excited to have her on board today because we are literally going to be talking about all the things to do with strength, power, and what that looks like for a woman in that sport. So, Mari, welcome.
Thank you so much, Siggy. That was such a beautiful intro. I feel so elevated.
Good. I love that. Let's elevate together.
I love it. Thank you. Yeah, so super excited to be here. Can't wait to talk about all things strength.
Yes, all things strength. And you know what? It ties in so nicely with our podcast because as Women's Fitness Academy, we're all about empowering women not to just look a certain way, but to feel a certain way. And lately, we've noticing there's a big shift in the fitness industry that women are wanting to be empowered through strength, through training, not only body but mindset as well. So, for our listeners who don't know what strong woman is, would you mind explaining to them what that looks like?
Yeah, totally. It sounds like a very general concept, and I mean, you could say anyone is a strong woman, but the sport of strong woman is actually a bit different. So the sport of strong woman originates as it was labelled as strongman. It still is labelled as strongman for a lot of different people. I now refer to it as strong woman sport for myself. That's been a transition over the last 3 years, which has been really cool since the Strong Women web series documentary came out. We have made that kind of shift in my brain. But it is essentially a sport where you're lifting awkward objects. It was back in the day seen as a bit more of a crowd entertainment sport. They'd have it at the circus. They'd have the strongmen come out and lift a big dumbbell, big like monster-sized dumbbell overhead, and they would lift people up overhead. They would bend metal bars and break chains and do crazy feats of strength and pick up cars. So it's essentially a sport where you do these big feats of strength, but there is a lot of strength required, a lot of fitness required, speed and explosiveness to actually compete in these sports. You'll typically have an event or a competition that has 5 different events. That'll be an overhead event, a moving event, a deadlift event, and then maybe chuck in a mystery event, which might be a Atlas stone, which is a big concrete boulder that you lift up and you put it onto a 1.3 meter platform, depending on the competition. But these comps will typically go from like 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. You'll be there all day. It's a big day. But you're doing lots of different things. So it's almost like strength athletics, they used to really call it, if you want to kind of think of that point of view. Yeah.
So cool. I've seen a few games of strong women, and I've seen them hold the Atlas balls. Now they're freaking heavy.
Yeah, big concrete boulders.
Yeah. Like what's the heaviest ball that you've carried onto a platform?
So the heaviest ball I have carried almost onto a platform. I'll say almost. I got this wrong last week on a podcast. It was 130 kilos, and I got it up to 1.3 meter platform, and it slid off to the side because I wasn't able to stabilize it. Oh, but I'm chasing it. I definitely want to work back to that and really trying to get that for my own records. But that was a big feat of strength. And if you're a strong deadlifter, you're a strong squatter, it transfers over really well. That crossover strength is huge. If you've got a big deadlift and you're very strong, like you'll be surprised what you could lift for an Atlas stone, for sure.
Wow, that is fucking heavy. 130 kilos as a ball.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is nuts. Like I'm still trying to like comprehend, because
Yeah.
like usually at the gym you'll have the medicine balls and they go to about 30, 40 kilos.
Yeah.
They're freaking heavy, but
Mm.
you're going all out at 130 kilos.
Well, I would actually say the medicine balls are harder because they're malleable when they move. The sand moves within it. So when you're training for a competition, you haven't got access to a stone. Train on a medicine ball, like an 80-kilo medicine ball or a 60-kilo, 40-kilo, whatever you have access to. And you can usually lift maybe 20 kilos more on a stone because it's hard surface. And of course, at competition, we use this form called a tacky or belt grip, and it's sticky that sticks to your skin. It helps you glue to yourself to the stone. So you're essentially kind of like deadlifting the stone up onto your lap, and then you extend at the hips and you stand up tall, and it keeps rolling up your chest. And then you push it onto the platform. But the bigger the weight, the bigger the stone diameter gets, and that's when it gets really challenging. Like the technique for a small stone will be completely different for a bigger stone. So it's always challenging.
Yeah, super challenging. What got you into the sports?
So a lot of different people got me into the sport to begin with. I originated, I guess, back in the day in cardio and marathon running or half marathon running cross country when I was in high school. And that transferred over into strength training when I did my PT certificate. I wanted to learn as much as I could. I did a bodybuilding competition to learn as much as I could about muscle training and growing muscle and diet, so then I could then teach my future clients. And in that aspect, I fell in love with weight training. I loved lifting heavy. That transferred into powerlifting. I did a powerlifting comp. And then at the powerlifting comp, it was an all-female competition. I met so many women that actually crossed over in the sport of Strongwoman as well. And I was so fascinated. They had such a great vibe, and I went to a training session. I fell in love. I saw these women lifting a log, which is a big metal cylinder that you roll up your body to your shoulders and then you press overhead. Wow. It's very awkward. It's quite big. And again, as the weight gets heavier, the diameter gets bigger as well. But they were just laughing at each other. They had so much fun. They were screaming at each other. And in a bodybuilding space, that was really fascinating to see, because you'll be in a bodybuilding space in the weights room and you'll be lifting weights. It's all very serious and fun at the same time, but there's no real, I suppose, form of like yelling at each other the same way that you would in a strength space, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like everyone in the gym will stop if someone's going for a PB. Like in the gym, if you're doing bodybuilding, not everyone's going to stop if you're getting a PB for how many reps you can do. It's just the people around you that's really supporting you in that space. But yeah, I think that really drew me to the sport because it was so electric.
I love that. And it's such a good way because in terms of community aspect, like I can totally relate of how you mentioned in terms of training when you're doing bodybuilding, it can be very, I wouldn't say lonely, but you're not in a community based of people like cheering you on doing it, where in terms of like the strong woman or even powerlifting, like powerlifting is very community based where you get other women cheering you on doing a certain lift.
Yeah, totally. Oh, for sure. It's a different energy. It's a different vibe. And I fell in love with it. Also, the aspect of feeling so empowered, not only looking strong from doing bodybuilding, I had physique, but actually being physically strong because I felt so weak as a bodybuilder, being in a deficit and dieting. It was very challenging for me mentally. And I just love eating food and feeling strong and feeling nurtured and nourished. So that's what really made me fall in love with strength training.
Yeah, I definitely don't miss dieting.
No, I'm like, I refuse to diet anymore.
Yeah. You know what? A goddess does not need to diet.
Nah. And we are all goddesses.
Exactly. Eat all the food, girls.
100%. Get around the donuts. Love that.
Yeah. Love a good donut. What does training look like for you right now? Are we entering a competition or are we maintaining?
Yeah. So I'm currently in a competition prep for a competition called Circus Freaks, which is right up my alley because I'm also a fire twirler and I love everything circus.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So that's happening I'll just check my calendar. That is in 2 weeks' time. So it's on the 23rd of April. So it's probably going to be past now. But yeah, that's a competition where it's a max monster dumbbell overhead lifts. That's a single arm. you bring it from the floor to your shoulder with 2 hands, then you take one hand off. You got to balance it on your shoulder with that one hand and then overhead press it. Lock it out steady, and the judge will say yes or no if it's a solid lift, and that's one lift. And the next one is a max stone lift. So whether or not I'll get my 130, I don't know. Fingers crossed. I'll be happy if I get 120. So it's still heavyweight. Whatever I can get on the day, I'll be happy with. But that is what I'm training for at the moment. My training at the moment is 4 days a week. I space it out throughout the week. So I'll do maybe Monday, Tuesday, rest Wednesday, and then train Thursday or Friday, depending on my own work schedule. So I have my own side projects that I try to manage as best as I can. And sometimes it might not be, I won't train till Tuesday and then Wednesday, then I'll do Friday, Saturday. Yeah. As long as I get 3 solid rest days during the week, I have quite a big energy output, and I find that my immune system can't keep up if I train too much. Yeah, but I maintain strength, and I find lots of rest actually benefits me so much more.
So good. I love that. So with the lifts, you mentioned that one of them is the single arm press. Now, is there a reason why they just do the single arm and they don't do the double with, you mentioned before how with the competition you have that metal.
The log?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big log press. So I guess you could say the correlation is between the word circus. So circus freaks. This is a big, classical lift that they had back in the circus back in the day when it was traditional strongman sport, and they would have a monster dumbbell lift, and it was this big metal bar with these metal boulders on the end, and they would have like the words in pounds and how much they weighed, and they would be in that kind of like thin striped, like tiny little suit kind of thing and overhead pressing it. So I guess they're kind of celebrating and looking at it from that aspect. But every competition is different. Not every competition will have a double-sided overhead press event. There might just be a monster dumbbell press, and then you might have an axle barbell press. And an axle is a fat grip barbell. It's hollow, which is a more grip stressful. But so it depends on who's planning the competition. They're probably like, this is my dream competition. I'm gonna make it really, really fun and diverse.
So cool. I love it.
It's very random.
It is, but you know what? I think that's the beauty about this sport. It's not your typical weightlifting, how they go into a power clean or, your traditional deadlift. It's really testing the ability of your body by doing different types of movements.
Totally. And it really stresses the core out and your immune system and your body and your nervous system in so many different ways. You never really know what to expect at a competition sometimes. So they will have typically always a mystery event. This competition has not announced a mystery event yet. I believe there isn't, but a lot of the time there will be. And as long as you've trained your squat, your bench, your deadlift, your cardio, everything all inclusive, you'll be prepared as best as you can. It's almost like going to the CrossFit Games. They don't know what they're going in for, but they just train everything to be prepared. We're lucky we know to an extent of how many things that we might be doing, but there's always something that could be a surprise. So
I love that. So cool. You mentioned that at the moment your training split is 4 days and 3 days off. What does recovery look like for you?
I love recovery. So recovery can be different every week. So I've got a myotherapist, which is a muscle therapist that will work on any sore muscle knots that I might have with dry needling, cupping, or just deep tissue massage. So I might see her maybe once a fortnight when I'm in a competition prep, depending on how sore I'm feeling. I love to do a sauna or a magnesium salt bath. I love to do an ice bath.
Yeah, I saw some of your posts. You're doing ice baths. Yeah.
Yes, I love a good ice bath. I feel like it really helps to calm my brain and my nerves and just calm everything down and help me focus on being present in my breathing and really get in my body to be like, where am I feeling sore? What have I done? I sit in my moments of recovery as a time to reflect on my training for the week that has been and what's coming up. What do I need to be prepared for? How's my nutrition going? How's my sleep? Recovery is so important, especially with your sleep. So I try to get 8 hours a night as well. That doesn't always happen, but, we try our best. But recovery in terms of, it's pretty much it. I think that's all the fun things I love to do. Bit of walk sometimes. Yeah.
I love that. What got you into ice baths? Because I find lately, especially in Melbourne, it has been the thing for recovery based. Like, I don't do ice baths, but I go for a morning cold dip, and that literally just elevates my mood instantly. There's that cold exposure. So I'm fascinated to know, like, what got you into ice baths.
Well, I grew up in Warburton, and there's a river there, and it's freezing, and it's beautiful, and it's fresh. And growing up there, we would swim in there all the time, and I loved the feeling after I had gone from a head to toe immersion in water. The cold water just woke me up, and I felt so alive and electric, and I've always loved it. I love swimming in the ocean, love swimming in cold water. I think it just gives me so much life. So from a young age, I loved it. And as I went into competing in strength sports, my coach at the time introduced me to P3. It was down in Berwick. I'm not sure if they're open anymore, but they did hot and cold therapy. And you'll do 3 minutes in a cold pool and 3 minutes in a hot pool, and you'll do back and forth for half an hour. And I loved it. I thought, this was awesome. Like, how good. You sit there with your mates having a good chat, and you're just kind of giggling at each other to see if they can handle the cold. And just really good fun. But it was definitely from growing up in the country in the Yarra Valley that started the love of diving into cold water. You think you're crazy enough to do something like that. But it was just super fun.
Love that. So good. I think a lot of people have this hesitation of doing it because it's cold. But once you beat that fear, you just fall in love with it.
It's the best feeling. Your heart rate increases and you're excited because your body's like, what's going on? But you feel amazing afterwards. And I always found it really fun in high school when we would just dive in the water. Even if it was winter, you're like, let's all challenge each other. Like, who's going to go in? Who's going to be the chicken? And I always got in. It was so much fun.
I love that. That's so good. So we're doing the ice baths. We're getting the treatment from the Myo, and then we also mentioned that we're focusing on sleep in terms of recovery. What are some, because like those are usually the traditional ways for us to recover, but do you have any other ways for you to just wind down, relax, something that's not so traditional for people to do?
Yeah. As I mentioned before, I'm a fire dweller. I use my poi. It's called POI poi. It's a ball on a chain or a ball on a rope. And I almost use it as a form of meditation. So I'll put my headphones on, I'll put some really relaxed kind of really chill beats on, and I love my chill R&B and hip hop, and I'll listen to that and I'll kind of just move. And it's really gentle movement, and it's very fluid. It's very feminine. If I feel like I'm in the gym, I'm very much big masculine energy. I feel like it's just nice to chill back a bit and to just kind of like move a little bit in a different way. That's something different that I do for my own recovery, for my mental health and for my physical body. But other than that, maybe a bit of reading sometimes, or just going for a walk. Yeah, poi is definitely something different that maybe other people might not do. Sure.
Yeah, I love that, because so many people, well, I know I've had these conversations with clients, and then like women, they try and tick off the traditional ways of recovering. So, the sleep, the traditional treatment, whether it's the ice baths and stuff. But you made a really good point, because with your fire dwellers, that's not something that your usual person would be doing. You're kind of like thinking outside of the box. What's something that you enjoy doing outside of your profession or outside of work? And I've noticed lately that a lot of people have started dabbling a little bit more into their hobbies, whether it's the fire dwelling, whether it's dancing, especially for women. Like you said, in the gym, we're so surrounded by masculine energy that sometimes that can block our intuition, our feminine side. So we have to find this balance. What do you enjoy doing outside of training? And this can be quite tricky, because for a lot of women, and I've been there as well, people will be like, oh, what do you love doing? And I'm like, exercise. It's just like, yeah, but what else? And you're like, exercise.
I love that.
So yeah, it's a good way of us expanding our thought process, going, cool, we enjoy training and exercising and teaching other people to move, but what else can you do to just calm the mind? And I am not coordinated to do the fire twirling. I'll probably end up pulling my hair on fire.
Not always on fire. I have training poi as well that's plastic and it's not meant to be lit on fire, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I think that's really cool. I've seen a lot of women play with fire twirlers, and it's a beautiful form of art.
Yeah, it's beautiful to watch. And I originally fell in love with it because I love watching it and I find fire just such a beautiful element. It's just, when you go camping, you just sit there watching the fireplace the whole time because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And if someone's able to manipulate it and make some spaces with that and shapes, I think it's really pretty. But I was also going to mention something else that I might like for recovery is actually finding beautiful nature places. So I'll go on either a drive somewhere or a hike at Mount Donabuang and just have a look at the sunset or the view. Like, I love a good view and I love just to sit there and just soak it all in. I find that really chills me out a lot as well. But yeah, that was one other thing that I like to do when I have the time. Yeah.
I know. It's like when we actually dedicate enough time to do these hikes or like look at nature. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I love, when I do get the chance, is watching the sunset go down.
Oh, it's beautiful. And you'd have a beautiful view there.
Yeah.
Beach.
By the beach. Yeah, it's stunning. I know. So grateful. So grateful. Cool. I freaking love where this conversation is going, to be honest. So we have the competition in a couple of weeks. What else is coming up for you this year?
So this year, glad you asked. So me and my girlfriend Karen, we have a women's workshop that we run called Sisters in Strength. And we basically have a physical component teaching women how to do strong women's sport in all the different strange elements that we do. Teach them what it feels like to be strong and what they can achieve. And then we go through a mindset workshop. So it's not only training the physical body, but training the mind as well. And we have those two components in as one. We have our workshop coming up in Sydney, and we are so excited. It's going to be at City Strength HQ. So we're absolutely pumped in September for that to come up. I'm excited to get out of Victoria. I haven't been out of Victoria since pre-lockdown. So
been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a while. But we are absolutely excited. Like, my soul lights on fire when we run these workshops. This will be the 4th workshop that we've got coming up. And it's literally Karen and myself, this big dream that we had. Then when we came together, we met through competing in strongwoman sport, and we became really good friends for it because we spoke about our struggles, things that we were going through at the time, and we read books and we listened to podcasts, and we'd always come back together and discuss our ideas, and we helped each other out and we educated each other that actually it's not just through strength training that you can get past these big things in your life. It's through training your mindset and practicing and reflecting and test and trialing all these different things. And it's amazing to know what there is out there that you can use for your toolbox that you might not be aware of, or even being not quite aware of how your surroundings affect you and social media and marketing. So it's a big topic to touch on, but we're really, really excited to hold some space for a lot of women that will hopefully change some lives and inspire some people.
I'm sure you will. So with the workshop, what is that, like a 1-day event, a two-day event?
Yeah, so it's a 1-day event. It'll typically, this is a bit of an example, it'd start at like 10 a.m., would finish around 3-4 p.m., but we would have a 1.5-hour intensive masterclass, I suppose. We with 5 different implements or 4 different stations where you might learn how to lift an Atlas ball stone. We'll have all the different types of weights, starting from maybe 20 kilos going up to 90 kilos, depending on what the demographic is. We could lift a log, a big metal log, an overhead press, monster dumbbell, a yoke. So yoke is this big metal frame that you pick up on your back and walk with. There's lots of different things that we would introduce depending on where we're at. and what's most interested for the participants to try. But then we would go into a lunch and coffee, have some cool down, maybe have some guest speakers come on board too. So we try to get local athletes that are inspiring women in the area to come and share their story through struggle and resilience for 20 minutes. And then we'll go into a intensive activity of a mindset workshop, working in small groups and really kind of picking apart some things about body image and self-talk and all these different things that we do have struggles with, but it's always something to explore.
Yeah, I love that. It's not just the training side of things, as you mentioned. It's like working through the mindset side of things as well. And you know what, especially for women, body image around that and the comparison side of things is something that we all should be continuously talking about.
Yeah, huge. And community. I feel like women are amazing at building community and having that around us, but sometimes we can feel really isolated too when we get in our own head and we've got a lot of things going on. We forget to actually reach out and share stories and listen. I think just the activity of listening to people's stories really builds that empathy in you, and that really opens up your heart a little bit more to connection and community. And I love that, and I think that's so exciting. But yeah, we're really, really excited for that coming up in September.
I'm excited for you. It sounds amazing.
I'm like, yeah, I'm buzzing. So that'll be huge. And I'm super keen to travel to get out of Victoria.
Goes to Sydney for the weekend, doesn't come back a month later.
Yeah. I'm like, see you guys, catch ya.
I love it. So for those who wanting to buy a ticket and register, how do they go about it? Where can they find the information?
Yeah, so head to our website. It's sistersinstrengthaustralia.com.au, and you can find it on Instagram as well. So that's sisters_in_strength_AUS at Instagram. And that's where you can find that to buy tickets. And definitely tell your friends if you know anyone who lives in Sydney, anyone who you think might be interested or benefit from a workshop like this. We really want to connect women with each other and build a community and really educate them into what strength training is and what it is to feel empowered and what reflects on your mindset and what it takes to become, the woman that you want to become in the strength world. So yeah, definitely.
I love that. So good. There's so much power in community, and taking back to that point that you mentioned before, how sometimes we can feel a little bit isolated. And that's something that I can totally relate to, because there was a time in my life where I literally thought I was the only one going through this certain situation, but then I was able to open up to someone else and I realized, hey, they're going through a similar situation. And then another friend told me another story, and then you've just realized, like, you're not on your own in this. Like, we're all in this together, but just different situations. And like you said, it's so powerful because you can empathize with other people regarding that and open your heart a little bit more to have these vulnerable conversations.
It's so huge. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it. And yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting, and we can't wait to see where it grows. We would love to have it in every state in Australia eventually, but it is still at its baby and growing. So we'll see where we can take it.
I'm excited for you. Who knows? Maybe you're going to be able to take it globally.
Yeah. That would be the dream, It's got to make those dreams come true.
Yeah, manifest that shit.
Manifesting.
Literally. Mari, thank you so much for joining me today. This conversation has been mind-blowing. I have a better understanding about what Strongwoman is, because as we mentioned before, I literally just thought it was just like throwing heavy shit, but now I understand it's a form of art of doing this type of training.
Yeah. 100%. It takes a lot of dedication. It's a passion, You don't just do this because you want to lift heavy. You do this because you love it and you love the community, and by being a part of it, you're giving back to the community, and I think that's a big part of the sport.
Yes, I love that. So good. So before we finish, where can our listeners find you? How can they work with you?
You can find me on Instagram at Mari_Whyte. So it's MARI_WHYTE. That's where you can find me on Instagram.
Love it. Well, girls, get connected with Mari if you're wanting to become a strong woman or register into the Sisters in Strength workshop, you know, she's your woman for it. And if you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure that you share it, recommend it, leave us a review, screenshot if you're watching it as well, and tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy. And then until next time, make sure you're opening up to someone next to you, near you, and having those vulnerable conversations and become part of a big community.
I love it. Yeah.